What if the biggest reason Disney has survived for more than 100 years has almost nothing to do with Mickey Mouse, Cinderella, or even the movies themselves? That sounds strange because the common explanation seems obvious. Disney creates unforgettable characters, tells timeless stories, and generations of families keep coming back. If you own some of the most recognizable intellectual property in the world, success should naturally follow. But history tells a much more complicated story. The entertainment industry is filled with companies that once dominated popular culture before slowly fading away. Some failed to adapt when television replaced movie theaters. Others struggled when cable television declined. More recently, many traditional media companies have been forced into painful transitions as streaming transformed how audiences consume content. Consumer preferences change. Technology changes. Distribution changes. Entire business models can become obsolete within a decade. Yet Disney keeps finding another path. The company began as a small animation studio in the 1920s. It later became a leader in feature animation, then expanded into theme parks, television broadcasting, consumer products, cruise vacations, global licensing, and eventually direct-to-consumer streaming. Every time the industry entered a new era, Disney somehow discovered another engine of growth instead of becoming trapped by its previous success. That is unusual. According to the company's own reports, Disney today operates across entertainment experiences and direct consumer relationships through multiple interconnected business segments. This is very different from the structure of a traditional film studio whose fortunes depend primarily on producing successful movies. The scale may be larger, but the more interesting question is whether the underlying business logic is also fundamentally different. Many people believe Disney simply accumulated valuable characters over time. Certainly, intellectual property matters. Mickey Mouse, Marvel superheroes, Star Wars, Pixar, and countless other franchises have enormous commercial value. Yet that explanation raises another question. If famous characters alone guarantee long-term success, why have so many other entertainment companies with beloved brands struggled to generate the same level of sustained growth across multiple generations? Hollywood has produced iconic films for decades. Numerous studios own recognizable franchises. Many media companies have invested billions of dollars into premium content. But very few have repeatedly reinvented themselves through completely different technological eras while remaining one of the world's most influential entertainment businesses. That suggests the real answer may not be found inside the stories Disney tells. Perhaps the more important question is how those stories are used. Over the next century of its development, Disney repeatedly made strategic decisions that seemed unrelated on the surface. Building theme parks, expanding into television, licensing merchandise, acquiring Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilm, and 21st Century Fox assets, launching Disney+. At first glance, these appear to be separate business moves responding to different market conditions. But what if they were all connected by the same underlying logic? What if Disney was never simply expanding into new industries, but consistently building towards something much larger? To answer that, we need to go back to the moments when Disney faced the limits of its existing business model. Because those turning points reveal far more than its biggest box office successes ever could. To understand those turning points, we need to look at Disney's history differently. Instead of following a simple timeline of successful films and famous characters, it is more useful to examine the moments when the company's existing growth model reached its limits. Disney's first business was straightforward. The studio created animated short films and earned revenue by licensing them to distributors. That model worked well during the early years, especially after Mickey Mouse became an international phenomenon following the release of Steamboat Willie in 1928. But animation alone was never a predictable business. Producing high-quality films required enormous upfront investment, while financial returns depended heavily on theatrical performance. A successful movie could transform the company. An unsuccessful one could threaten its future. This fundamental volatility became increasingly apparent as Disney expanded into feature-length animation during the 1930s and 1940s. Instead of accepting those limitations, Walt Disney began searching for ways to create value beyond the movie theater. One of the earliest examples appeared in merchandise licensing. Characters that first existed on film soon appeared on toys, books, clothing, watches, and countless consumer products. Revenue no longer depended entirely on ticket sales. Every successful story could continue generating commercial value long after audiences left the cinema. Then came an even more ambitious move. In 1955, Disneyland opened in California. At the time, many observers viewed it simply as another entertainment business. In reality, it represented something fundamentally different. Rather than asking families to spend 90 minutes with Disney's characters inside a theater, Disney invited them to spend an entire day inside a physical world built around those same stories. The business expanded from selling entertainment to creating experiences. Television followed a similar pattern. Instead of treating television as a threat to movie attendance, Walt Disney embraced the new medium. Programs such as Disneyland helped finance the theme park while simultaneously promoting films and strengthening audience relationships. Each business supported the others instead of competing against them. This pattern continued for decades. Consumer products reinforced movies. Television promoted theme parks. Theme parks strengthened emotional attachment to characters. Every new interaction increased the visibility of the Disney brand. The next major transformation arrived much later under Chief Executive Officer Bob Iger. Beginning in 2006, Disney pursued a series of acquisitions that reshaped the company. Pixar brought world-class animation capabilities and enduring franchises. Marvel added an enormous universe of interconnected superheroes. Lucasfilm contributed Star Wars and Indiana Jones. The acquisition of major entertainment assets from 21st Century Fox significantly expanded Disney's library of films, television content, and international distribution capabilities. These transactions cost tens of billions of dollars. From a traditional media perspective, they appeared to be aggressive investments in content production. Yet the companies Disney selected all shared one important characteristic. Each owned storytelling universes capable of attracting loyal audiences over many years. Then the market changed again. Streaming transformed the economics of media distribution. Traditional cable television, once one of Disney's strongest profit engines, entered structural decline as consumers increasingly shifted toward direct digital platforms. In response, Disney launched Disney Plus in 2019. According to the company's annual reports, direct-to-consumer services became one of Disney's strategic priorities, allowing the company to build direct relationships with audiences rather than relying entirely on third-party distributors. Viewed individually, animation, merchandise, theme parks, television, acquisitions, and streaming appear to be responses to different business challenges across different decades. But taken together, they begin to reveal a remarkably consistent pattern hidden beneath more than 100 years of corporate history. That pattern becomes even clearer when we focus on the decisions that fundamentally changed Disney's trajectory. The acquisition of Pixar in 2006 was about far more than adding another successful animation studio. At the time, Disney's own animation business had lost much of the creative momentum that had defined earlier decades. Pixar had demonstrated an extraordinary ability to produce both commercial hits and enduring characters. The acquisition restored Disney's creative edge, but it also secured a pipeline of stories that could live far beyond the cinema. The same logic became even more visible 3 years later. When Disney acquired Marvel Entertainment for approximately $4 billion in 2009, many analysts questioned the price. Marvel was certainly valuable, but paying billions for comic book characters appeared risky. Over the following decade, however, the Marvel Cinematic Universe became one of the highest-grossing film franchises in history. Yet the box office was only one part of the picture. Marvel characters appeared in theme park attractions, consumer products, television programming, publishing, interactive games, live entertainment, and eventually streaming content. A successful film did not simply generate ticket revenue. It strengthened an entire commercial ecosystem surrounding those characters. Lucasfilm followed a remarkably similar pattern. Disney paid approximately $4 billion in 2012 to acquire Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Again, attention initially focused on future movies. But Star Wars soon expanded across merchandise, publishing, gaming, streaming series, immersive attractions such as Star Wars, Galaxy's Edge, hotel experiences, and licensing partnerships around the world. The financial impact extended well beyond theatrical releases. This approach also shaped Disney's largest acquisition. In 2019, Disney completed its acquisition of major entertainment assets from 21st Century Fox for more than $70 billion in enterprise value. The deal expanded Disney's portfolio of film studios, television production capabilities, international television assets, and valuable intellectual property. Just as importantly, it strengthened the company's position at a moment when streaming was rapidly changing the economics of media. Then came Disney Plus. When the service launched in November 2019, it entered one of the most competitive streaming markets in history. By relying on established brands such as Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, and National Geographic, the company attracted tens of millions of subscribers within its first months. According to Disney's annual reports, direct-to-consumer services became one of the company's strategic priorities, giving Disney direct access to audience behavior rather than depending entirely on external distribution partners. This changed more than where people watch content. For decades, movie theaters, television networks, cable operators, and retailers acted as intermediaries between Disney and its audience. Streaming allowed Disney to build a direct relationship with consumers while simultaneously connecting film series, franchises, recommendations, subscriptions, and future releases inside one digital environment. When viewed separately, Pixar appears to be an animation acquisition. Marvel looks like a superhero investment. Lucasfilm seems to be a science fiction purchase. Disney Plus resembles a response to streaming. But the deeper pattern is difficult to ignore. Each major strategic decision expanded Disney's ability to extend the commercial life of its stories across additional product experiences, platforms, and customer relationships. Every acquisition increased not only the amount of content Disney owned, but also the number of ways that content could create value over time. At this point, one possibility begins to emerge. Perhaps Disney was never making isolated investments in films, television, or streaming. Perhaps every major decision was reinforcing the same underlying system, even if that system was not immediately visible. The evidence points toward a different interpretation of Disney's business. Most people describe Disney as one of the world's greatest content companies. That is true in one sense. The company has produced some of the most influential films and characters in entertainment history. But if content alone explained Disney's resilience, then every major studio with successful franchises should have been able to reproduce the same results. That has not happened. The difference begins to emerge when we stop treating Disney's films as finished products. Instead, each film functions as the starting point of a much longer commercial journey. Consider what happens after a successful Disney release. A traditional studio earns revenue primarily through theatrical distribution, home entertainment, licensing agreements, and television rights. Disney certainly participates in those markets as well. But its intellectual property can continue creating value through theme park attractions, cruise experiences, hotels, consumer products, publishing, games, live entertainment, streaming subscriptions, and licensing partnerships across global markets. The movie introduces the characters. The ecosystem extends their economic life for years or even decades. That helps explain why Disney repeatedly invested in businesses that appear unrelated at first glance. A theme park is not simply another entertainment venue. It transforms fictional worlds into physical destinations that deepen customer engagement. Consumer products are not merely merchandise. They allow stories to remain part of everyday life long after audiences leave the theater. Streaming is not simply another distribution channel. It enables Disney to maintain an ongoing relationship with audiences while continuously introducing them to additional franchises within the same portfolio. Viewed individually, these businesses belong to different industries. Viewed together, they perform the same strategic function. Each one increases the number of ways a single intellectual property can create value. This perspective also changes how we interpret Disney's acquisitions. Pixar was not only an animation company. Marvel was not only a collection of superheroes. Lucasfilm was not only the owner of Star Wars. Each acquisition added intellectual property capable of generating multiple forms of commercial activity across Disney's existing businesses. The more extensive the ecosystem became, the more valuable every new franchise could become after joining it. Disney's own reporting increasingly reflects this integrated approach. Rather than describing isolated businesses, the company emphasizes segments that connect entertainment experiences, products, and direct consumer relationships. Success in one area strengthens performance in another instead of remaining confined to a single revenue source. This creates a reinforcing cycle. A successful film attracts new audiences. Those audiences purchase products, visit parks, subscribe to streaming services, engage with additional franchises, and strengthen the overall value of the Disney brand. Those stronger customer relationships, in turn, improve the commercial potential of future stories. The important point is that none of these activities replaces the others. Each new platform expands the economic opportunities available to the same intellectual property. That is why technological disruption has often affected Disney differently than many competitors. When distribution changes, Disney certainly faces new challenges, as demonstrated by the costly transition from traditional cable television towards streaming. Yet the company's underlying assets remain capable of creating value across multiple channels. Technology may alter where audiences engage with Disney, but it does not eliminate the broader network through which Disney monetizes its stories. Seen from this perspective, Disney has not spent the last century repeatedly reinventing itself because it constantly discovers entirely new businesses. It has spent the last century expanding the number of ways the same intellectual property can create value, allowing every new technology and every new platform to become another layer in a much larger commercial system. Seen from beginning to end, Disney's history looks less like a sequence of successful businesses and more like a sequence of successful transformations. Animation did not replace short films. Theme parks did not replace animation. Television did not replace theme parks. Streaming did not replace the company's franchises. Each new business expanded the commercial potential of assets Disney already owned while preparing the company for the next technological shift. That changes how we should interpret Disney's long-term growth. Many companies become experts at creating products. Disney became exceptionally good at redesigning the environment in which its products create value. The company certainly invests enormous resources into storytelling. Creative excellence remains essential. Without compelling characters and memorable stories, none of the businesses surrounding them could succeed. But creativity alone does not explain why Disney has remained relevant through silent films, theatrical animation, broadcast television, cable television, global tourism, consumer licensing, digital media, and streaming. The more convincing explanation is that Disney repeatedly restructured the way its intellectual property generated value. Whenever technology, consumer behavior, or market economics changed. When audiences wanted destinations, Disney built parks. When television became dominant, Disney expanded into broadcasting. When global brands became more valuable than individual films, Disney invested in world-class franchises. When streaming transformed media distribution, Disney shifted toward direct relationships with consumers. The stories remained important. The mechanism through which those stories created value kept evolving. That distinction explains why the same intellectual property can generate revenue across industries that appear unrelated. A character introduced in a film may later become the centerpiece of a theme park attraction, inspire consumer products sold around the world, appear on streaming series, drive subscription growth, support publishing, power video games, and attract visitors to cruise vacations. Each business reinforces the others instead of operating independently. As a result, the economic value of successful intellectual property becomes far greater than the revenue generated by any individual movie. This perspective also helps explain why Disney continues investing heavily in assets that strengthen its broader ecosystem rather than focusing exclusively on maximizing short-term box office performance. The company's annual reports consistently describe businesses that combine entertainment experiences, products, and direct-to-consumer relationships because these activities work together to extend the lifetime value of every major franchise. That does not mean Disney avoids difficult transitions. The shift from traditional television towards streaming has been expensive, highly competitive, and operationally complex. Like every major media company, Disney has faced pressure from changing consumer behavior and evolving economics. Yet even during those transitions, The company's underlying strategic direction has remained remarkably consistent. Rather than protecting a single business model, Disney has repeatedly rebuilt the way value flows through its portfolio while keeping its most valuable assets at the center. Perhaps that is the most important way to understand Disney after more than 100 years. It is easy to believe that Disney became one of the world's most influential entertainment companies because it created extraordinary stories. The evidence suggests something deeper. Disney has endured because it continually found new ways for the same stories to create value as the world changed around them. Its greatest competitive advantage has not been the ability to produce intellectual property alone. It has been the ability to repeatedly redesign the business model that surrounds that intellectual property, allowing each generation of technology to become another opportunity for growth rather than another threat to survive.